Welcome to a fine gaming experience, everyone. It's This Way Lies Madness, or Bricks. I have my usual co-host with me.
Hey there, it's Ice, somehow still here for yet another episode.
Last time we fought the Great Jagras for the first time, and we're going to be doing some expeditions today. But first, we got some basic mission updates to take care of here. We're going to go over and visit the provisions manager.
Love that swanky new weapon right there on your back.
We'll be changing that up soon, sadly. And this guy brings up an interesting point. You can either outright slay your giant opponents, or capture them. You have to have certain traps to use against them, as well as the ability to tranquilize, but you get more rewards as well as research points for it.
Good luck.
One of the most important NPCs in the game right here.
Yes?
Yes, the chief ecologist will give you quite a lot of information on various monsters as you get more tracks from them, and all the other stuff we were talking about last episode.
Now what's so wonderful is it doesn't require that much to actually raise in rank and learn more about your monsters. So you should make a habit of coming back pretty much every time you encounter a new specimen in the wild or on a hunt.
And luckily it'll tell you every time it's updated with new information. We'll have even more new information on the Great Jagras later on this episode. But for now, we have quite a plethora to look at.
And this is with only one rank.
Indeed. You get to see the smallest creature, the largest creature, how many we've hunted, how many we've captured, which weapons are best to use against it, which statuses, even where to attack it most efficiently.
Jagras is weak against pretty much every single ailment in the game.
We don't have much information on Anjanath yet. We've only seen him.
And Zora, we've only mostly heard of Zora. We are here to find him, though, and we've seen some possible poop from him.
Oh, you are too good to me.
We didn't want to get too close to it, though, understandably.
I'm just gonna say, if something defecates magma, I don't want to get close to it at all.
Picture the smell coming off that.
I don't need that much sulfur in my life, and no one does. These NPCs right here are extremely important in the game, and you should make a habit of talking to them after every mission. Just always walk right up to them. You'll actually appear just down to the bottom left of where they are standing, so they're easy to get to, and they're well worth talking with because they're always going to give you new missions and new small things you can do.
For example, right there, we were asked to set up a camp in the ancient forest. And we'll get a reward for it. And here I'm going to set some more bounties from them. The bounties can be incredibly easy things, or more complex. For example, here I just have to collect flowers, some honey, some mushrooms, kill large monsters, small monsters, and basic creatures in the map.
These will automatically complete as we do them throughout every single hunt. They're just active missions that get ticked off. That's why I said, come back often.
Okay, let's get this expedition underway. Meet me at the gate.
One of the things about Monster Hunter is, I've said this before and I just need to be very clear, there's a lot of information to digest, but most of it is in the start of the game, and if you pay attention and take your time here rather than just rushing out on hunts, you'll appreciate the next, 200 hours? Maybe 200 plus?
I'm at about 200 plus hours on my Steam account there, and yeah, you can really get a lot out of the game.
You can embark on an expedition just by heading out through the gate. Or you can use the world map.
Yes, we're not going to go to the world map expedition stuff yet. We're going to change up that defender sword. It was a little too powerful, but we're going to show off how to get new weapons up the tree here. I promise I will use a new weapon next episode. But for now, we're just going to make the bone kukri.
You can just tell these guys love their job.
I think most people here love their job. And that's quite the downgrade, but
Again, those new weapons were given to us to help us easily attain the DLC, which we're not trying to rush to.
and a lot of people agree with your comment there that it just kind of makes things a little too easy. You're not going to learn a lot. Now right here we have the branching, and we have one of the components, but not enough for that. We could go up to the sleep tree through that, though. However, from killing the Great Jagras, we have all the components to build this one.
And that's quite lucky, because the claw is not an always drop.
Well, we did manage to break the forearms last time, which gave us the claw guaranteed. And as you'll see, if we go down to the next stage here, we'll be able to get a Thunder Elemental version down the line.
One of the things you'll notice, too, some of the weapons essentially are just kind of plates or pieces thrown over the basic weapons.
Right now, we're in a
Some of
scare.
them are complete
You want to
remakes.
go on an expedition. Open your world map and choose your
Generally,
destination. For this
those
expedition,
remakes
we need
are
to
going
head
to
the
come
ancient
with
forest.
increased
We can
stats,
expand expeditions
and
as
without
we
the
go
ability to
further.
back up
Well,
and return to an
pretty
earlier
good
weapon
incentive to
set.
explore, right?
Yes, you hit certain stops in the weapon tree that you can't really back up from, but usually you're going to a pretty good step from that. And expeditions are quite different from your usual quests.
Let's look for the campsite.
If I get to the campsite first, or if you're lost, open up your map or use your scout flies to track me.
There are three major things about
Whenever you
expeditions,
leave the base without signing up for a quest, you'll go on an expedition.
which
There's
they're
no time
not
limit
actually
to
going to
cap
get
how many
into
times
touch
you're allowed
here.
to
They're more
advance.
going to try to
It means you can explore
allow
at
you
your
to
heart's
explore. But the main things are quests that you can meet NPCs out in the wilderness.
Timing is everything.
Oh!
The color of the
One of my
meat
favorite
and the
things.
song are clues.
Not very useful overall in the game, but handy early on. If you time your cooking right, you'll get a good piece of meat, which I did there. And if you watch my stamina,
That's a staple of Monster Hunter. That's been around for a long time.
unfortunately it gets overclassed by better items soon. And since this is an expedition and not a mission, they don't give us any free items. We won't get any bounty money for this at the end either.
Now, I am noticing this is a green sharpness weapon, is that correct?
Indeed, this is sharper than our last one, and we never really went into detail on sharpness if you'd like to.
Absolutely. So your sharpness levels by default are going to start at a orange level. Oh. Let's say hello to him. They're going to start at an orange level, and that's essentially when your weapon is basically broken. It's as weak as it's going to be, and they go up to yellow from there. Most weapons are always going to start at least at a yellow, but past that, every stage from green all the way up through blue and white in the higher sharpness levels increases your overall attack power.
Guard, too.
So keeping sharp is not just to keep your weapon fiercely strong, it also gives you extreme advantages. Ooh.
Yeah, I purposely take this damage here to show off that I can use items while holding my weapon out.
And use a potion.
I assure you, completely done on purpose. You won't move as fast as you would if you didn't have your weapon out, but it's handy not having to put your weapon away and take it back out again. And there was the Vigor Wasp from my Palico. It's basically a large heal that he can do every about 2 minutes, I believe. Tired him out again. That's the wonderful thing with the sword and shield. It's very easy to tire out your opponent.
You're going to notice something about the mini-map. For a while there it was red, and at this point in time it's actually gone white. The reason for that is Jagras has decided that you're quite the threat, and the mini-map's actually telling you that Jagras might try to flee.
Yes, he's no longer hostile. If it's red, you have something on the map that wants to kill your face.
It just went red again because you made him angry enough.
He's had enough of me, though. He's running away.
Now you notice he did a roar there. That is one of the most major parts of Monster Hunter, is the roars of the different monsters. And a lot of them just use them as defensive tactics. They'll roar to scare you off, and then get an escape underneath their tail.
The ones that are very scary are the ones that use roars as offensive tactics. And you were mentioning people on the field we can meet, and this is basically the fish researcher. And unfortunately my connection sucks, so I temporarily lost my connection here.
Not a big deal when you're playing solo.
Not really. If I lose my connection, it basically means I can no longer do certain events and some missions with other players. But for the most part, like you said, I'm playing solo, doesn't matter too much.
Love me some good fishing.
Now, on your regular missions, you're not actually going to see a lot of these NPCs. They're only going to show up in the expeditions like this.
Well, I just heard another roar there, and Anjanath is hungry.
Target
Oh, let's see how this goes.
on the map. Hey, partner.
Orphan Annie is just coming out for a snack.
As I was saying earlier, there are several things you can do on expeditions. One of the most major, of course, is the NPCs. Another thing that you can do on an expedition that you can't do elsewhere is fight monsters who will escape. And this is fairly important. When you're on expeditions, monsters do have the ability to escape from you, where they will not be able to do that in an actual mission where you're hunting them. Keep that in mind. If you don't have a lot of damage and you're using a slower weapon or learning a new weapon, you probably want to stick to doing investigations or normal hunts.
I was trying to get him to do a particular thing here, so I skipped ahead because he didn't want to. But here's an environmental hazard. He knocked over the tree, and now he's caught in all the roots and branches. I don't know how that missed. The neat thing off doing things like that is not only is it efficient for combat, you get research points off it as well. There he is, limping away.
Let's hope you sharpen.
Well, you notice how it says large doodles there? Well, we're going to check that out, because those are another thing you can only do in expeditions.
And the final thing I was going to mention, a very important thing at that. You're noticing how the bar is filling up. The doodles are kind of like tracks that you would find for a monster, and each of them is going to increase until it'll give us a link to another clue, and then hopefully it'll give us some secrets.
Let's report our findings
Yes,
to
it's
everyone.
very important to do that. If you don't realize you can only get that through expeditions, it might take you a while to unlock that part. And I really take advantage of the wide swings here to just annihilate all the Jagras.
There's actually a pretty severe deficiency in your damage right now because of being down to orange, but on things like the standard Jagras, it's not a big deal. You don't really need to sharpen. I know any Monster Hunter vets are staring at the screen right now screaming, "Sharpen your weapon!"
And I really should. I believe I do here in a second. But yes, being in the red is not very good. But here's another interesting thing. We're in the nest of the Great Jagras. There's other Jagras hanging around, but we're finding other unknown footprints around. Now, sleeping opponents will take double damage from the first thing that hits them when they wake up. Sword and Shield is not very good at doing heavy damage, unfortunately.
However, I'm a greatsword user, and if I can time it just right, I can sometimes kill a monster straight out when they fall asleep.
And Great Jagras at one point there, when I was in the air, ate a meal. He'll normally go out and find a live herbivore. He'll swallow it whole. Sometimes he'll find a corpse, munch on that. And in certain areas, he can eat bones or dead corpses, like here. And when he's full, like that, he has an additional attack where he'll basically roll sideways and do a ton of damage. This guy's giving me a little bit too much lip here.
You will notice that the monster does not change its position when it dies. It's laying exactly as it was when it was killed, and it still has meal shoved in it. They pay a lot of attention to the ecology of the monsters. They want you to feel like these are real living, breathing things that change.
A powerful type of slinger ammo. That's able to pierce the thick shell of monsters.
Yeah, we got that last time. And I promise next time I won't be doing as much mining. It's just early on I didn't have access to these expeditions and such, so I wasn't able to really take advantage of it until now.
One of the great things about Monster Hunter World that's a major change from before is before you had to keep supplied with pickaxes in order to do mining, and there was no way to kind of do multiple strikes. Now you just walk up, hold the button down, and it'll mine the entire node until it's done. Also, nodes will regenerate, and it'll actually show up on the minimap. Quality of life improvements in World make it such a more accessible game. And while some of the old Monster Hunter fans didn't like that, I find that it's brought a new crowd to the game and a lot of attention Monster Hunter never would have had without it.
They not only go on the mini-map, they'll go on your world map too, so you can actually scan for certain ingredients or whatnot that you're looking for. And this is a little interesting here, because I was sent on the mission to open up a camp, but there's other places you can find on the map that will become camps as well.
I think we could build the camp here. Let's ask the head honchos.
Which was a bit of a side detour, but as we'll see,
Your wildlife map keeps track of where
I
you are
partially
and
did
where
that
the
to help
scout flies
open
are
up my
taking
map a
you.
lot.
You can also use it to keep tabs on monsters.
You can see Anjnath there walking around. And expeditions will allow 3 monsters maximum to appear. At the moment, though, we've only really seen 2. You might see that X on the map. That's a monster destination. I think Anjnath is about to turn around and head back this way.
Hope you don't get munched on.
Luckily, I don't.
Oh, and you sharpened. I'm happy.
Yes. And the Wiggly Litchi. Such a good item. Basically gives you a stamina boost for a bit and stops it from going down as fast. More of those unknown footprints. Interesting to find them out here as well. This area is one of my favorite parts of the forest, though.
I spent a lot of time hunting different things down here, but the topography is really, really fun. Lots of slides, areas to jump off of. You've got some flying monsters, lots of herbs, and fun little creatures.
Which I'm going to capture one of. These guys can be a little annoying just because they hop up the tree, fly across, and then hop up another tree. And when I have to do the mushroom mission, this is basically what I'll be doing, is just going around and gathering lots of those.
But as you can see, they give you a large amount of research points.
Some of them give you an extreme amount. Now, the interesting thing with those too is they help expand your canteen. But there is some ingredients that are incredibly rare to get. In fact, some of those ingredients will only show up during certain map conditions. I do like the parrot toad. It is one of my favorite natural creatures to find on the map.
Over here.
And this is where we were supposed to set the camp up.
A lot of hand-holding. Again, like I said, pretty soon that's going to go away.
A very weird monster, but a very fun one to fight.
And one of the first monsters we find that's actually more of a frightened
If
creature.
we don't take care of that pest, the camp won't last the night.
And that was the tracks we were finding in the Great Jagras nest. It will actually go in there and steal eggs and other stuff from other creatures.
A lot of you who are not Monster Hunter fans and aren't used to the idea of going to hunt these things, they actually do put a lot of story behind why would you hunt such a scared monster. And this thing is, it's a creature that's causing a lot of destruction to the natural environment by stealing from other monsters, destroying camps.
Then select a
So there's always a reason to hunt monsters. It's not just for cool gear.
In this screen, you'll notice a lot of difference from the usual mission stuff. I still get rewards. But I won't get any bonus rewards. And typically, since you're just wandering around doing stuff, you'll end up with a lot of research points. Quite a lot there was done.
As you level up those tools for your palicos, they'll actually gain new abilities. So it's imperative to try out all the different things that you find.
Don't let me down.
And having your palico with a healing ability early on is very handy. Now to get all the bounties in for those camps we set up. Well, let's get some insects, and I've been doing lots of mining, so might as well add that to the list.
Try hard, will you?
And since we fought Great Jagras again, we got more information on him. Now we get the rewards. We know exactly which items we can get and which parts to break to help get them.
There's a little bit of management you'll need to do to find the specific items that you need to make certain weapons, but there's actually a feature, which hopefully we'll show next episode, where you can almost put things on a wish list when you're up at the smithy to say, I want to make this item, and once you've found all the pieces, it'll actually tell you you've got them all to go and forge the item.
Which is a very handy feature.
Showing one of the other many ways to go off on quests.
And we've completed 3 quests already now, but we have the current one open, so let's go out and kill the Kulu.
Well, there are a lot of monsters in this game that I absolutely hate, but I think the Kulu-Yaku is probably my most hated monster of all of them.
He's an interesting guy. They use him for a lot of missions later on, as we'll see. But I kind of like his gimmick. Unfortunately, he doesn't use it too much here, but we will get to see it. Another thing in that area where we were searching the mushrooms last time is flowers.
Oh, there he is. Now, as you can see, he's not an aggressive monster. He doesn't seem to care that we're even there.
Yeah, he'll walk around. He usually doesn't even make threatening remarks towards you like some monsters would. He'll just do his own thing until we attack him. and his aggressiveness is interesting.
Nice catch with the Paratoad. Yeah, that's why you were saying it's one of your favorite things. Fortunately, it can also affect you if you're too close to it when it goes off.
Same with your Palico, which is a little unfortunate since he's not controlled. But each Toad basically relates to a status ailment, and they'll be able to do a burst of that ailment if you kick them. Basically a free trap to use against the opponents.
The biggest problem with him is that he's so small.
Yeah, he's weirdly built, and what I don't like is he moves a lot in unusual ways sometimes. He has the habit of backing up suddenly. He's another roaring monster that'll just interrupt you sometimes.
And then there's his gimmick, which like you said, we don't see a lot of, but I would absolutely love for everyone to see it so I can complain incessantly.
As you can see, when it happens, I do have trouble with the gimmick. And yes, I do sharpen.
That was a really funky mount. Good job, though.
I'm surprised it connected, but I'll take that. And some monsters will react very differently to being mounted. Some will run all over the place, attacking every other party member in the area. Some will just freak out that something's on top of them. Some will try to ram themselves into anything nearby to get you off them as quick as possible. But you can use that to your advantage, as we'll see later. And if you look at that giant plume he had on his head, I've broken it. So the damage you do to the monsters does show up on them, which is very interesting when you cut off a tail. Here we go. Would you like to explain his annoying little gimmick?
So he will dig things up out of the ground that he will use defensively. You can't actually hit him. Your weapons will bounce off that rock. The only thing that you can hit him with are literally unblockable attacks, and they'll do practically nothing. So we're trying to hit that rock out of his hand. This is where and there you go. This is where the slinger comes really in handy. Ranged weapons have a way easier time because they can just shoot it out of his hand.
And if I attack that rock with my sword, it will heavily damage the sharpness. Some monsters will have natural armored points like that, as we'll see later. That was very fortunate. Bigger wasp there. And he's limping already.
Look, the monster's almost done for. Chances are it'll retreat to its nest to recuperate.
Now he's long from head to tail, so the piercing pods are great. If you can fire them straight onto a monster, it'll actually fire through and hit all of their different points. You saw just 4 points of hit there, and then when it came to the side, you only hit about 2 times. Monsters, for some reason, drop the things that kill them. I don't understand why, but nature, man, it's wild.
Thankful for it, though. And Kulu's an interesting one, because normally monsters will go back to their nest, sleep, and start healing up from that. He will go to a nest and eat. Usually by stealing eggs and whatnot, but you can actually attack him while he's trying to eat and knock those eggs out of his hand.
Yeah, he's a scavenger. Like I said, we're getting rid of him because he's a problem. Another thing, and it's just kind of a general tip, you don't have to rush after monsters. Let them go, take your time, heal up, sharpen your weapon. Staying on a monster when it's running away is not always the best course of action.
But if they're weak like this, you can just do what I'm about to do. Any second now.
Another mount. Well done. Sword and Shield is an excellent weapon. Great for a lot of things, but man, is it fun to mount monsters with it.
That jumping attack I like doing not only does a lot of damage, but it's very easy to mount with.
You'll actually see we got knocked off the mount because Kulu got knocked out before we completed the full combo.
which is an unfortunate thing. Usually that full combo will do a lot more damage, but sometimes other players or whatnot will interfere.
That's a hilarious way to kill a monster.
It didn't even pierce all the way through him, just the first initial hit killed him off. I was that close.
It feels like getting a cherry when you're playing a Capcom fighting game. You know, that you just jab, you know. That's all it took, just a and he was done.
That was like a 5 damage attack, so very much so.
Well, it was definitely a successful hunt.
And I'll get some last-minute goodies, of course.
And I will say, your experiences may vary, especially if you are not a huge action game fan. The game is difficult, and there is a huge learning curve.
I do like those omen flies. They're quite neat. They'll turn bright red whenever any monster's nearby.
The wedge beetles are amazing, and hopefully we'll see a lot more of them in future episodes, but they essentially let you use almost a grappling hook and swing about mechanic, get to some secret areas, and honestly, watch out for them because they'll help you traverse the environment way faster.
This area isn't exactly the best for it, but some of the later areas make very good use out of the wedge beetles.
You saw the plume, very high rarity and an excellent item.
And sometimes your Palico will see you gathering up stuff and gather up additional items for you there as well. And that's quite handy, getting the Vigor Wasp spray up. Now it'll be healing us even more when we have it triggered.
Magnifique. Don't let me down.
And the nice thing with setting up new camps is they basically give us new spawn locations to start off in.
I have something special just for you. Come back soon.
They'll do stuff like this every now and then, just get us basic items, which will give us another item for the canteen.
Thank you.
Mega potions are so important. They're essentially your mid-tier healing item, and they're the only mid-tier healing item that you can carry 10 of. The next best healing item you can only carry 2 of, even though it's more powerful. So you're going to be using a lot of them in most of your later hunts. Early on, regular potions help just fine.
Yeah, I really don't have that big a health bar at the moment.
We're picking up some deliveries here, which are another part of these NPCs. And you gotta go check those out, because you'd be surprised how many times you've got all the ingredients ready for delivery, and they just sit there on your list when you could have had new items or new items for your canteen.
One thing I will point out, though, to people who are old school players of Monster Hunter World, you used to be able to get new layered armor there, and they have moved it to the armory now. So if you were wondering why you don't get the updates every time you visit the researchers, that's why. It confused me for a bit there.
As I said before, the real end game is the fashion game.
Which I will be playing with a little bit more next time.
Hard?
Now that we've killed a couple different creatures, I'll be able to show off more armor sets next time, and I'll be doing a bit of mixing and matching to get an efficient set. That's something we'll run into a lot, is just other hunters that are too lazy to do their own job, so please do it for me.
Hunt's keeping you busy?
Like, seriously, that was like, get me the skin of a pig out there. One skin, please.
Pig he's actually looking to is barely even an aggressive monster.
And pretty weak. They're easy to take down, just hard to locate sometimes.
ones to get it done.
I know I said last time that this would be the episode we hunt the Puke Puke. Next time,
Come see me.
I almost guarantee we will be killing that Puke Puke. If we don't, you can yell at me. I won't hear it because it's online, but you can still yell.
I'll yell. Yeah,
Okay.
I will be yelling.
And I'll hear that, sadly. But I hope you all join me next time when we go kill that little poisonous beast. And take care, all.